Now, just when you're thinking partial fractions is all very straightforward and you got the hang of it, what you find is some repeated factors. That's where you've got a squared here, or you might have an x squared and say an x plus 4 like that on your denominator. So if ever you see a squared on the outside of a bracket or by an x on the denominator, that is a repeated factor. Now you're probably thinking, well, I could just do what I usually do here, but it doesn't work. I'll show you why. If you do what you'd expect to do, which is to write x plus 4, and then you do a over x plus 4 plus b over x plus 4. The problem with this, you probably see it straight away, but if you, whatever you find for a and b, if you were to then take this right hand side and write it as a common denominator with a common denominator, your common denominator wouldn't be x plus 4 squared, it would just be x plus 4. You see, there's no reason to square this or square this, so it doesn't work. It doesn't work splitting the fractions up into these two denominators here, because you get a denominator of x plus 4, whereas we want a denominator of x plus 4 all squared. So we need to do something about that. We need to choose different values for our denominators. So what we need to do is, instead of splitting it up into that, we need to put an x plus 4 squared on the denominator of our second bracket, because then when you get a common denominator, you would have a times by x plus 4 plus b over x plus 4 all squared, which is what we would want, because we need to get that denominator there. So we could just carry on with this really, but it's really important. The whole point of this section on repeated factors is, if you see a squared, then you've got to repeat the factor like this. Okay, so if we carry on with this question, then let's write down the left hand side. So we've got 5x plus 11 over x plus 4 squared. So if we multiply both sides by x plus 4 squared, these are just going to cancel, and you can go to this. You could have gone straight to this in the, well, you have to write this bit down, but then you could have gone straight to this line here that I'm just writing down, which is a x plus 4 plus b. Okay, and now it's similar to all the other partial fractions questions you've been doing really. I would make this bracket equal 0 and find b, I think, first. So I would sub in x equals minus 4, and that's going to give me 5 times minus 4 plus 11 on the left. All of this bracket's and going to equal 0. That's the point of subbing in minus 4. So all of this is going to equal 0, and so that's going to equal b. And so b is going to be minus 20 plus 11, which is minus 9. Now there is no bracket next to b, so you can't really eliminate b from the equation. You've got to equate coefficients in order to find a. So the left hand side of the equation is 5x plus 11. If we multiply out the brackets, we've got ax plus 4a, and we now know that b is minus 9. So I've just multiplied out that times that times that, and I put minus 9 in for b. So now it's really straightforward, because if we equate the coefficients of x here, you can see that the coefficients of x on the left hand side is 5, and there's only one coefficient of x on the right hand side, and that's a. So that means that 5 must equal a, and that's it really. Okay, so the answer to the question is 5 over x plus 4 minus 9 over x plus 4 all squared. Now here we've got another repeated factor partial fractions question, just that this one looks a bit more awkward, but you can see we've got a squared there, so you've got to be careful and repeat that factor when you split it up. So the first thing I would do is write this as 4x squared minus 3x plus 5 x plus 2 minus 1 squared. That's going to equal a over x plus 2 plus b over x minus 1 plus c over x minus 1 squared. For the reasons we talked about in the previous question. Now we can now multiply everything by the denominator. If we multiply everything by the denominator, I'll do it the long way, but you can cut this step if you like. You've got 4x squared minus 3x plus 5 equals a times by that whole denominator over x plus 2 plus b times by the whole denominator over x minus 1, and then c times by the whole denominator, and that will be over x minus 1 all squared. So you can see what's going to cancel here. That's going to cancel with that. That's going to cancel with one of those, and that's going to cancel with all of that. So we're left with 4x squared minus 3x plus 5 equals a x minus 1 squared plus b x plus 2 plus c x plus 2. No, it's not. I just spotted that I've missed off this bracket here. Is x minus 1 next to the b there. It was only this. There's only one of the x minus 1s here that was cancelled. So it's plus c x plus 2. If we now substitute in x equals minus 2, that's going to make this bracket equal 0. So all of this will equal 0 and all of this will equal 0. So we'll be able to find out what a equals. So we're going to do minus 2 into the left hand side and minus 2 into the right hand side will just leave us with a times by minus 2 minus 1 all squared. So that means we're going to get, I think the left hand side was that 16 plus 6 plus 5 equals 9a. So that is 27 equals 9a. And so a is going to equal 3 here. I think now it's probably a good idea to substitute in plus 1, and that then we'll be able to work out what c is. Okay, so if we sub in x equals plus 1, the good thing about that is this would all cancel, this would all cancel because this is 0 and this is 0, and we'll be able to work out what c is. So the left hand side, 4 times 1 squared minus 3 times 1 plus 5. The right hand side will just be c times by 1 plus 2. So that is 1 squared times 4, so that's 4 minus 3 plus 5 is going to give us 6 equals 3c. And so c is going to equal 2. So we now found out that c equals 2, a equals 3. We just need to work out what b is now. Now we can't do another substitution to make the brackets equal 0, but we can equate the coefficients now. I think it's probably easiest to equate the coefficients of x squared. So if we do that, then if we equate the coefficients of x squared, you can see that the coefficient of x squared on the left hand side, this is 4. And the coefficients on the right hand side are going to be, let's just get rid of this green. So the coefficients of x on the right, sorry, coefficient of x squared on the right hand side. In other words, what's going to give you an x squared over here? Well, the only things that are going to give you an x squared are what you get when you do a multiplied by this double bracket multiplied out. So you will have an ax squared from this if you expand x minus 1 all squared and then multiply by 8, you'll get an ax squared. And likewise, if you expand these brackets and then multiply by b, that will give you a bx squared. But you're not going to get any x squareds from over here, so you can forget about c. Now, fortunately, you know what a is. You know that a is 3, so we've got 4 equals 3 plus b. So then that tells you that b has got to equal 1. So we found out what a, b, and c are now. We can write down our final answer with those in. So our final answer becomes 3 over x plus 2, then plus 1 over x minus 1, and plus 2 over x minus 1 all squared. So that's the final answer to that question.